Awesome. Okay, I'm ready. So I chose Midsummer Night's Dream, which was already on my to-do list. So a little bit about me. I used to direct high school theater for 4 years. And so I'm very familiar with Shakespeare. We did Macbeth and we did Romeo and Juliet. I chose not to do Macbeth for this just because I wanted to try something on, and had I stayed doing that, I would have eventually done Midsummer. So I decided to go with that. I wanted this particular Midsummer to be Havana inspired, so taking from the Cuban culture, I definitely felt like that element would be different than anything we've seen before. Usually when you see Midsummer, it pretty stays in, the forest and the fairies, and there's like twinkling lights everywhere, and it's really pretty, but I kind of wanted to give it a different flair. So the style of production, borrowing from the Cuban Havana culture, I felt like Midsummer would be really nice to set it in a tropical forest, something with a vibrant and colors, and a beautiful way to just kind of introduce a new cultural experience to Midsummer. Definitely just allowing that to kind of play a large role in terms of casting and in terms of giving the audience something fresh and new. And I also wanted to invite androgyny into the show, open sexuality and things like that. And you'll see that as I go along. One of my favorite, well, it's not really a favorite quote, it's just a Puck quote. Puck is one of my favorite people. This is the woman, but not just the man. Anyway, so the setting or the set design would be, or I would try to get that area to look as close to like a Havana nightclub. So I think, thinking of me knowing Rice University and knowing that it does have a Hogwartsy like feel, I think it might be an easy transformation to make this one place look like a nightclub, a nightclub lounge that they have. So definitely, I was thinking maybe that instead of building some sort of stage or some sort of place, that we utilize the tables and things that are out there and maybe somehow turn those into our playing space. I'm not entirely quite sure, just in terms of the rules of, because I know in the email it said something about obviously the students have to use this space every single day. How would we transform that? So either we build some sort of structure there, or we just kind of keep it the way it is. And the last photos I saw of it were with round tables out there, and I don't think the round tables are out there anymore. But that would have been really cool. But maybe even thinking about doing a dinner theater sounds cheap and lame, but it'd be kind of a cool to invite maybe a, yeah. Oh, okay. So I was kind of thinking about, it'd be really kind of cool to get like a Cuban food truck, and I know there's quite a few, one that's really, really good, and inviting it to come on campus during the shows and then serve Cuban food, and then maybe that'd be like a big, like the pre-portion to the show, and then they watch the show after having some part of the cuisine. So yeah, something about the hall out there, keeping it for its regular settings, but then finding a way maybe the actors to just kind of be in the space and we're all kind of immersed in it together. Or maybe the audience does feel like they're part of the lounge and a part of the nightclub, so we won't really have to muddle too much with the structure of Baker, but definitely adding a lot of the elements of like all of the foliage, finding the trees and the leaves and the things like that to place in Baker, just to give it that feel, having centerpieces at the tables that gives that off that Havana vibe. So I think that would be like a quick, simple fix for out there in terms of the set. Cool. And costumes and props, basically a lot of things are with floral prints, suits, and with a Latin flair. So the show opens up with, of course, they're preparing for the wedding of Theseus and Hippolyta. And I would keep them very much, they are not a part of this Havanan world. I think Hippolyta wanted to get married at this particular lounge venue, and so you'll see the show start up. Maybe the show starts with some of the people that work for them, they are setting up the lounge as it goes. So the audience is seeing the lounge being set up for the wedding. And that's where she chose to have the wedding anyway. So they would be very not of the vibrant colors. Theseus being, of course, a man of power. He's in a nice clean suit. And then Hippolyta in something just very plain printed, very classy, and very elegant. Hermia and Lysander, so I wanted Lysander to be a woman. And that kind of feeds into the story of her father being so against Hermia getting married to Lysander and wanting her to be traditionally with Demetrius. But I would definitely want Hermia to be this ray of sunshine. So she would definitely have a few flowers adorned in her hair that Lysander would give to her often. I would want her to be dressed in really sunny and bright, fun colors. And then Lysander, who is being played by a woman, she definitely loves Hermia. And I think her just kind of adorning suspenders, a button down, slacks, and kind of like letting her Hermia shine. But definitely Lysander does have a masculine-esque way about her. And I think when she does get struck by the love spell, I think she can play with her sexuality and with her gender fluidity in terms of being more masculine with Hermia, but then falling in love with Helena, and then she may be more feminine, which would be really cool. Then we have Demetrius and Helena, the unrequited lovers. So I definitely feel, and Demetrius is very arrogant, very pompous. He, in terms of the way he would dress, would be very preppy. He wouldn't probably have any prints of like floral anything on him. He'd be a lot like Theseus, where they want to dress well and be well above everyone else, whereas Helena is definitely more part of this Havana heat. I would love to see her in more reds and really vibrant colors, because she's very, very passionate character, and I really enjoy that about her. And she would have these like big, beautiful hoops, and they kind of ironically symbolize the hoops that she's jumping through to get to Demetrius. But yeah, she's definitely very, very passionate, and I would love to have her in bright, bright colors. Then there's Oberon and Titania. So with the Havanan culture and the way that you kind of unfortunately stereotypically see them, there's always like a cigar, a drink. They always have like the brim hat and things like that. I think Oberon would definitely partake in the fun world of the Havanan culture, and definitely would have a cigar probably always in his breast pocket, maybe even smoke one. But I would love for his suit jacket to be of flowers. So definitely bringing the fairies they'll be drenched in flowers. If I can get all the flowers on them, I would love to have that. And these flowers are just more tropical in nature. But I would love his suit jacket to be in flowers. And then for Titania, she definitely, same thing, a beautiful flower crown. And then whatever she wears in terms of her dress is in a floral print, something very, very elegant, but I think something also freeing and kind of ethereal about her, but definitely spicy. And then we have Bottom. So Bottom, because Bottom and Puck, of course, since Bottom is the comic relief, he would be the stereotypical Havanan man. He would have that button-down shirt with the thick stripes on the side. He'd have the hat, he'd have the cigar. And I think definitely what will be fun is to watch these characters, because there's all this chaos happening, and it's because they are not in the right mind. And I think definitely just them constantly, they're drinking a lot. They're having a really, really good time in this type of world. And so someone like Bottom is definitely one that is constantly drinking, constantly interrupting. They're trying to put on this play. It's not really working. And so just him just constantly just being a riot and fun for the whole show. And then there would be Puck, who is definitely Oberon's right-hand man, and I think Puck would definitely be very androgynous. If you imagine someone like Prince or David Bowie, it would be just, he may even wear highlighter on his cheeks, and he just kind of doesn't care. He has a very blasé, beautiful openness about him. So his dress would even be a button-down shirt, but it's open and it's billowing and it's really nice. And he too would have flowers in his hair, and he's mischievous and probably partakes in the drinking, and that's why he like gets confused on who's who, and he's like, oh yeah, that's what I'm, you know, and it's kind of a big fun thing. The only thing that I was thinking about bottom in terms of the donkey head, which is kind of hard, is maybe that it's not necessarily that Puck turned him into with the donkey on his head, but that maybe that was some part of the arrangement in the wedding setup somewhere, and he gets this thing stuck on his head. And because everybody is drinking and having a good time, especially his actor troupe people that are with him, that they're like, oh my God. And so they think it's real, but no, it's definitely like he just has this horse head mask thing stuck on his head, and he's so drunk, and he's like, I'm having a good time, and this lady's really into me, so he's like, whatever. So I think that might kind of easily fix that problem. Definitely the fairies, or anything dealing with the fairies, they kind of go in any, of course, just constant floral skirts. They could have midriff or just vibrant colors, but no one is really in uniform. It's whatever part of the Havanan culture they want to bring, or we want to have them bring. Vibrant, bright colors, anything like that, I think would be in the dress of the fairies. And then definitely using lighting to then enhance their moods and their, it's not necessarily about what they're dressed as or how they're dressed. It's just more about how they interact with each other when these lights and things are happening. Cool. So, definitely kind of going along with bottoms thing. I've had a most rare vision. I've had a dream past the wit of man to say what dream it was. And I think that's just kind of going with the chaos of everything and preparing for this wedding, and everybody's inebriated, and love and passions and tensions are very high, and that kind of really sums up the show for me. So budget, when I was thinking about, and like I said, I've directed for high school before, and so these budget numbers are roughly what we have worked with, and depending on what you guys have or what you don't have. And does the theater department help at all, or is it kind of just you guys on your own?
Just us.
Okay. So then that would be like another thing. Borrowing a lot of stuff would definitely be the better way to go.
Yeah.
But costumes, especially with this type of show that I'm talking about, and a lot of the pieces aren't things that like someone doesn't already own. Like if someone already owns a button down, great. If you already own slacks or a jacket, great. I think where costumes may kind of come into play is like this certain type of prints that we're looking for, but that's easily fixed with thrift shopping and things like that. And of course it might be, by that time, it'll be February-ish, March-ish. Hopefully we'll be able to still find it in Houston just because of the way seasons go. But I think a lot of people probably own some of these items that we can then make. But I definitely chose between about 500 to 1,000. The set is the hardest part, and that's only because of the foliage that we would have to get for Baker. And those things can be costly. We'd find tons of ways to either borrow, drag in, hey, do you have this big plant somewhere, and borrow some stuff. But that I just gave a safe 2,000, and that's just the roughest ballpark, considering when I looked up how much those type of like banana plant leaf trees, how much they cost. They're from $50 to about $80 depending on where you go. So I do know that concept is a little yikes, but there are ways around that. It can turn into regular foliage any day. And then props, there aren't hardly any props in the show besides, and like I said, it's stuff that we can get. Bottles, I like to have a good drink sometimes, so bottles is not a problem. The flower is really easy to do. The show doesn't really have a lot of like, or nothing out of the ordinary, like no weird prop that you would need. And then a horse head or a donkey head, that's pretty easy to get. So 300, but I don't even think we would get there. You could go to the Dollar Tree and get all of your glassware, and each is $1. So that that's no problem. And in terms of cutting the show, so I've already cut Romeo and Juliet before, and I've cut Macbeth before. Midsummer is pretty straightforward for the most part. The only thing I would cut is just like, you're taking too long to get to this point. Let's just cut all this extra stuff. Definitely in some moments where the language, the beauty of Shakespearean language is like very important and very needed, then yes, we would keep that. But there are some things where it's like, no, we can say this a lot faster and get to the point quicker, and it would really just be trimming the fat. So I would definitely by the time that auditions are in December, I would have it already cut, and it's already halfway. Romeo and Juliet is far thicker, and I cut through that easily. So Midsummer, that's no problem to kind of cut that. And I think that is it. That's it, yeah.